So what was our last topic, if you remember? That's our last topic, right?
Strings.
Strings and arrays. Okay. So today we are going to start learning things on OOPS concepts. Well, what are all the OOPS rules that you know? Can somebody brief me on? You people might have learned about OOPS, right? While learning C++ or while learning Java as a part of your learning career in your BTECs or MCS, wherever it is. So can you please brief me on the rules of OOPS? How many OOPS rules you know? A list of OOPS rules, yeah. Come on. ऐसा कुछ रहेगा ना, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 कुछ rules रहेंगे. Can you please tell me that?
Class and object, inheritance,
Class and object.
inheritance,
People also call this as inter-object communication rule. Okay, ठीक है. फिर what is the next one?
Inheritance.
भी उससे पहला और एक rule है, which is following this inter-object communication.
Abstraction.
See the abstraction. Data abstraction and
Encapsulation.
well, this actually tells you how objects should share their data. Okay. This rule is all about explaining how an object can share the data to others. So inter-object communication rule says how objects should communicate with each other. Well, then inheritance tells about how objects can make use of reusability, something like by acquiring properties and functionalities from parent classes. Okay, and then you have something called as, what's the next one? Polymorphism. This is basically, what do you mean by polymorphism? How objects can
one
show
thing have many forms.
different functionalities with same behavior name. And then the last one, abstraction of, well, basically, how objects can hide their implementation details and at runtime cast themselves as different object. Okay, so this is a pretty critical part. Basically, this is where the total APIs are developed of Java based on. So please remember, abstraction is a very critical thing as well as very important thing compared to any other part. But however, abstraction is completely based on your inheritance followed by polymorphism. The order here is given in the same way where the dependency is. So class and object is the primary rule. It says key you write class at runtime that will behave as an object, and then how objects has to communicate with each other, that depends on data abstraction and encapsulation. And then we have inheritance. This is where we can learn how objects can acquire their properties and behaviors from their parent object. And polymorphism, where I actually can show different behaviors using the same behavior name. And then finally abstraction, how I can hide myself at compile time or design time, and then at runtime how I can make myself as a different things, like how I can behave differently. So all this we will learn one by one. Okay, so can somebody define me what is a class? A core definition of a class. What is a class?
Collection of data member and member function.
Anything else apart from that?
User defined data.
Beta? No, your voice has broken, so I couldn't hear clearly.
Blueprint of an object.
Blueprint of an object, pretty fine. Then what is an object?
Real world entity.
Hmm?
Real world entity.
अच्छा, an entity. ठीक है, और कुछ? So I'll tell you, object is nothing but running copy of a class. If you say class has a design diagram of an object, term definition on object, then object is nothing but running copy of a class definition. Make clear, these two are interrelated to each other. So whatever you define while the time of writing the class, exactly the same way the object is formed at runtime. Am I clear? The way you write the class, the same way object is formed. Pretty fine. If you say I am defining an object, so I'll just write down an object. Okay, so you have to tell me what exactly is that. Can somebody tell me what is this?
Fan.
It's a fan. Pakka. All right.
Yes,
So
sir.
तो मैं बोलूंगा यह है इसके ऊपर लेबल, तो क्या बन गया?
Usha fan.
Usha fan, a working copy of the same object called as fan, correct? Similarly, I can have a Crompton fan. Similarly, I can have Havells. Similarly, I can have some other, correct? So when you define, I am looking at an object which should be, fixed to the ceiling like this with a rod, and then it should have a coil kind of composition over here, which will help to turn, revolve the base, and the base is attached with three wing suppliers using which the air can be flown to downstairs. Well, I call this as a fan. So as long as you look at this object, irrespective of whoever might have delivered it, you simply call it this as a fan, correct or not? So basically, the fan which you are speaking is called a class, a root type, whereas Usha fan is a runtime object. So if you take this in this way, you have a class. Let's say I am speaking about mobile. Okay, so when you say mobile, what exactly is mobile? So you will say, I am saying class mobile. So I am trying to define an object of type mobile. I'm using the term type. So the class defines the type. Type यानी कि उसका root elemental model. Well, each class consists of two different type of elements mainly. So it contains properties, or we call them variables, and it too contains something called as methods or functions. Well, at runtime, please understand, this class will become an object, and this will be classified like this: object, my phone, or OnePlus, or Vivo, or blah 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 blah, so many. So what are all these basically? When you look at this mi phone or OnePlus 10, OnePlus 9, or look at that, the moment when you say this is a phone or this is basically a mobile, correct or not? So I could call this mobile phone, a running version of the class phone, correct or not? Now, the way you have defined variables and functionalities in it, this at runtime will be identified as attributes, and the functionalities are known as behaviors of an object. Well, the variables, these can be of two types again. I'm really sorry. I'm suffering from cold since 2 3 days. That's why I couldn't take you such yesterday also. These variables are of two types. Dekho, I can have a built-in like camera, or I can have what do you call this built-in memory. Let's say 128 MB of or GB of memory, right? And I can have so many other features. Similarly, I can have two different kind of functionalities. One is callable functions, and one is called as runnable functions. What do you mean by runnable functions? Or public static void main. These are the two different kind of functions you specify, right? Okay. So if you see them, for example, attributes, and yeah, one type of attribute, this is what I have specified. Pretty fine. What is the other type of attribute I can have? I would like to specify that also. That's your SIM card. Please note that SIM card is also a part of the phone. Yes or no? Agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is a part of the phone, but basically SIM card, uh, it points to some other thing, which is a tower kind of thing. So these are called as data members, and whereas this guy is called as reference member. Yanaki, they pointed to some other thing. So basically, uh, these members, they basically hold some value, and whereas these reference members act as pointers to other objects. Let's say if you take SIM card in this case, okay, the SIM card actually points to either Airtel or Idea or to Aircel or to Reliance or to Tata Docomo, blah blah blah, Vodafone, right or wrong. So the SIM card belongs to the phone. However, that actually pointing to one of the tower. If the tower does not exist, you don't get signal. You cannot use them. Whereas, irrespective of the tower exists or not, you can use these data members. जैसे कि camera, जैसे कि your inbuilt memory. You can use all this stuff. You can take selfies, you can take videos, you can play them. Correct or not? So this is the difference between data member and a reference member. Similarly, the behaviors which we call them as business behaviors and executable or application level behavior. So business methods, and we call them application based runtime method, or basically which runs your application. So this is how basically we can form a class, and in this class will become internally as an object when it runs, when we run that basically. Okay, so the difference is because with one definition called mobile, we actually can get many copies at runtime which are working as a type mobile. Am I clear? So one definition leads to many implementation. That is the core agenda of Java. Whenever you work with not just Java, OOPS based things, one definition to many implementations. Am I clear? So this is what it is, class and object. But how these objects will communicate with each other basically? Well, the rule of a class object inter-object communication defines that one object should create a point to the other object, and then it can make use of their functions to communicate, and they can make use of their data or data members to exchange the data between. For instance, if you take two members here, let's say for example this is Ram who is taking your session. Let's say these are you people who are listening to the session, who are listening to the session. There are so many students, right? How we are communicating with each other? This is the group of people who are in the session, and this is your faculty. Well, the communication is definitely happening. Can somebody tell me how this communication is happening? Well, I am using I'm actually have created reference of all of you people in a team meeting. So first of all, I have initiated a team meeting. I could say a runtime memory where all objects have loaded. Agreed? Correct or not? Including me and you, we all have loaded into the same memory. This is first thing. And then second, I'm using one of my behavior called speaking and then exchanging data using one of the property that I have called tone. And similarly, you people are using one of your behavior called listening and using one of your property called ear in order to exchange this data. Similarly, when you speak to me, you will be using your tone and the sound and whatever you wanted to speak. You speak and then I listen. That's how we communicate with each other. Agreed? So this is what exactly is called as inter-object communication. The primary rule is one person will load first and he will load the remaining people into the same memory which he wanted to speak to or communicate to. And then he will call one of their behavior and they will communicate accordingly. This is exactly how an inter-object communication will happen. Am I clear on this point up to this level?
Sir.
Okay, so this is what we were doing when we were working with that school example. If you have remembered, so the college object have loaded faculty object as well as admission clerk object into memory, and then have passed the student as a data member in between. Remember that example, right? So that's what we call as inter-object communication theory part. I'm not taking an example of it. We will take an example of the next part. Well, while the time of giving or sharing this data in between, basically this has to happen in a secured manner. What do you mean by that, Ram? Well, I'll take an example. You people have to answer me. Okay. So, dekho bhaiya, in our apartment, the electricity department person comes every month. Okay. You understand this what the first part of class and object part, right? This is your this you have understood, right? Now we were speaking about data abstraction and encapsulation with a small example, and then see how this can be implemented as a part of our code development. Okay, so suno. So we have an apartment where electricity department people come and then give the power bill on every fifth to 10th, between 5th to 10th. This person will come back on 15th of every month to the apartment premises to collect the power bills in a collide way, because we cannot go to, we can pay online definitely, but they're giving this as a service. So they'll send one collection executive to every apartment on a specific day. They'll come and then they'll inform ki we are taking current bills, please come and pay. And they'll sit in the base or office of the apartment. I mean, this association office, and we will go there and then pay our current bill. Simply speaking, this is what the process is. During this process, I'll give you two scenarios. Okay, now scenario number one: the guy comes to my doorstep, knock knock. My wife or my daughter or my mother or father will open the door. He'll get inside. He'll say, "Ki, Maji, I need to take the power bill." He get into our bedroom, directly gets inside our bedroom, open the wardrobe, okay, and then open the secret almara, and he takes out the money, counts whatever the power bill cost is, takes it, and then keeps the remaining change over there, locks the almara, and then go back, give the bill receipt to my mother or father or daughter, say ki, Amma, current bill le liya, thank you, and then he leave. Scenario number one. Will you allow this?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
We don't. Acha, I'll give you the scenario number two. He comes to my door, knock knock. My daughter or mother or father or wife will open the door. He'll say ki my current bill, and then they'll say ki ha okay, wait here. They will go inside. They'll open the almara. They'll take out the money. They'll count it. They'll come back, gives the money back to him, and then he gives the remaining change and then give the receipt. He'll go away. Will this be acceptable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why the first version is not acceptable? He's doing his duty only. He is able
Yes.
to, he's supposed to take money, he is taking it. That's all. You are supposed to pay the bill and you have the bill with you. He is coming inside and then taking. What is the problem?
Security.
Privacy, sir.
Security, privacy, simply. So when he gets inside, he may take anything, right? But if you stop him on the outside and you only give whatever is needed to be given, that is called a secure way. Correct or not? Well, please understand that is what we call as data abstraction and encapsulation. Stands for hide your data members and allocate only the necessary members to be accessed by an outsider. This is exactly what called as data abstraction and encapsulation. This is driven from one of the methodology of making a capsule. So they say, assume there's a capsule and a medicine inside the capsule. Well, you cannot take out that medicine directly. And this, in fact, this capsule is also sealed inside a wrapper. Just like this, a sheet may have many wrappers. Okay, each of it filled with different capsules. I could say these are your objects, working version of your objects. Now, can you get this capsule directly from the medical shop? No, you have to have a proper receipt. Well, when you show the receipt, basically he will give you access to the memory where your objects are available. That means you are supposed to have a proper access rights. Now when you open this one, basically you are getting into the memory, and when you try to access this object, within this object, you don't see the data, rather you will see the capsule. You don't even know what is the medicine inside. The capsule is the only way to consume this medicine. So what you have to do is you will have to consume the capsule in order to consume the medicine. So if you take it in this way, the part what you are opening here is your object, okay, or I could say a reference of your object. And then this capsule what you are touching is your method that gives access to data member. And then whose data member? Well, देखो भैया ये मेरा data member है. The medicine itself is my data member. So if an outsider, बाहर का जो patient है, if he wants to access this data member, he is supposed to have an object, and then through an object he can call the method but not the data. A method should give the data accessible to an outsider. Well, the process of this is called as encapsulation. Hide the data to be accessed only by a member function. Let the outsider access this only through the member function. For my object, which is my house, I have member functions, my wife, my daughter, my mother, my father. They only can access the private data that I have hidden inside the almara. That's my private data. So I'll keep the money as private and then allocate that access only to the class members of my family. They only will access it and then give to the outsider. Makes sense, right? The second model what we are following makes sense. Pehla wala model where the guy is directly getting inside the class and then taking the data is not allowed. You understand that? So the first model is never allowed. Similarly, in OOPS concept also, directly giving the data members to be accessed by an outsider is not allowed. Then what is allowed? Dekho bhai, this is the way you are supposed to do. Well, this is what we call as data abstraction and encapsulation. For data abstraction, hide data by making it private. That's the first point. Okay. Then what is encapsulation? Let it be accessed only via constructor or getter set. We call them technically as mutators and accessors. So these people have a technical name: accessors, mutators. Note down this. Okay, so what's encapsulation is allowing outsiders of the class to access the data either via constructor or via accessors and mutators. That's all. Is there any other option or no other option? This is the only way to be done. Am I clear on this point? Am I clear on this point? Let's see with a small example, shall we?
Sir.
Shall we see it as an example?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'll come back to my class and well, I'll take ये पूरा मैं इधर कर देता हूँ भाई, so that I can you make use of this one. Okay. I mean, these are things that are supposed to be discussed. I mean, clear. So I'm coming down here. I'll take this. Now I'll first define a class and I'll try to define certain members. Okay. Let's see. I have a class called employee. Okay. So please remember this. This is a class called employee. Now this class employee have certain elements. For example, static int id or yeah, I'll say id only is equal to 1,000. So declaring this to give next number automatically to every employee object. Okay, I told you static members, they hold memory outside of the class memory. Remember the first session we have discussed when we have discussed about the usage of static. So what happens, as long as you are increasing them, the number will be unique and then being accessible by different objects. Okay, so here I am declaring another set of int employee id and string employee name, double salary, and let's say I have something called as string department and I have string designation. Well, have them proper way, employee name, emp name. Well, look at this, these are the four things I have. And to this guy, because he need to print himself, I am overriding this public string to string. Remember this method? What is this method is all about? Tell me. What is the purpose of this to string method?
That's
Here
an
we
object
have
class method, sir.
object class method which we were overriding to print our details. Basically that prints employee at the rate blah blah blah, encrypted version of that, right? So here I am trying to print the details. So return, I'm trying to print employee ID plus employee ID. This I should be capital. Please follow camel casing. If your variable name or class name or a method name contains more than one word, the second word onwards it should start with a capital letter so that you can easily identify it. Okay. emp id slash n, यानी कि go to the next line and I have अभी भी space दे देंगे भाई. You have employee name, emp name, then you have your department, designation, plus salary, blah blah blah, whatever it is. I wanted to print all these details. ठीक है. Well, अब देखो. So so this is what my employee is. But as per to the rule, you told that this guy, if he has to be access to anyone, the outsider cannot access the member directly. If he access, he will be having a capacity to change it, right? For instance, please try to understand. For instance, employees, when they load into the memory, they are supposed to be given with ID, employee name, the department designation and all by a HR. So while the time of joining itself, you are supposed to give each and everything. You cannot skip anything over here. So here I have a constructor, public employee, who will be given with a string employee name, comma, string department, comma, string designation. That's it. Salary also should be given, right? So double salary. So can I give an appointment an employee without deciding these things? No, right? That is highly impossible. The moment when you give employment, the candidate has to be given all of these points. So here I'll say this dot employee name is equals to supplied value employee name, and this dot department is equals to supplied value department, and this dot designation is equals to the supplied value designation. Finally, this dot salary is equals to supplied value salary, but the guy has to have an employee ID. So here I will say this dot employee ID is equals to ID, or I could say plus ID. So what happens is the static value is incremented and being assigned to employee ID. Next employee will get the incremented value. Am I clear? You're getting this point, right? So
Yes, sir.
this is how we will make use of the static value, pre-incremented value. So for example, here inside the employee ID, here the value is 1001. So will there the next incremented value, which is 1002, something like that. Okay. So that's what my expectation is here. That's why I have declared this as a static int ID. But the problem here is the way you have drafted this class or designed this class is pretty much fine. Technically, structural wise, or there is no problem at all. Well, I'll try to show this. Let's I have a class called employee or HRMS, HR management system. So here I am having my public static void main string args, and I'm trying to create an employee object here, and see what happens. Like, let's say, for example, you know that the way we develop our programs are based on applications. Yes or no? Can we develop it as a program, or shall we develop it as an application? Which one you want? We should develop things only as an application, never try for a program. So here, what type of program this is I'm writing? This is what type of actor this is. Can you identify this actor? What type of actor this is in my application, in my system? This is of type entity who represents a real-time actor called employee in a company. Am I clear? So that's my expectation. So this guy is basically a library type, honestly speaking, a library type of class entity who represents a real-time actor called employee. Similarly, I would be having another class called HR. So basically, HR is the person. What type of person he is? He is also a type of entity. So a library class of type entity who represents HR of a company, basically manages employee objects. So here, this guy will have behaviors, whereas employee who would be a pure raw type model where he cannot behave on his own, his record will be maintained by HRs, managers, XYZ, and everyone. Admin will give attendance to him. HR will assign salary to him. He will give increment. He will give promotion, blah, blah, blah. His record will be under upgradation, but employee on his own cannot do anything. He probably may have some behaviors in future, but currently an employee can be used only by other actors like this. So here the HR has a functionality, a public return type employee. You remember this model of method, giving admission to students. Similarly here, appoint an employee. So to appoint an employee, so he will actually do that part and return the new employee object to us. So here he will say employee is equals to new employee. I would like to do in this way, but which actually gives me comparative error. I'll say return employee object. This is what he will do. And then what is the method? Appoint an employee. That's what he will be doing. So here, this guy, HRMS, will make use of HR to speak to an employee. So this is my Jokata HRMS, I could say. So here, the Jokata HRMS makes use of HR. So we'll say HR. Who is our HR? Sushma Bandi, right? Is equals to new HR, correct or not? So they will load first Sushma into the system, and then they will ask Sushma to join and appoint an employee to the system, and then your enrollment process or onboarding process will happen. So here appoint ke place mein I could say on board employee. So employee onboarding process. So this is where exactly you will be onboarded, right? So here I am calling, I'm telling Sushma onboard an employee. I've requested her. So when she do that, she actually returns me your details. So I'll say employee is equals to Sushma dot onboard employee, and then I can give a name if she wants to onboard someone. Let's say for example string employee name. So I'll give the name of the employee. Let's say Hanisha, and then say onboard her. So here I'm trying to tell onboard Anisha. Then she'll do the process for onboarding and then return me the record of Anisha. Making sense? You're getting this point? You're able to understand? This is exactly how we write software for what exactly happens in a manual way. So if you wanted to automate the process of our HRMS system, how do you do that? If somebody asks you to develop a software for HRMS, the onboarding process, this is exactly how you need to think and deliver. ठीक है तो यहाँ पे he here it will be null, and then the onboarding process mechanism, Sushma will takes your details. She'll ask you details. Basically you are filling in a word file and then sending her, right? Correct or not? An Excel or Word file, you are filling all your details and then sending her. The same thing I will automate. Then a system will be presented to you. It will be asking us, Sushma has to enter those details, and then they will be saved into our DB. So here I'll say system dot out dot print, or for timing I could say print ln, and will tell Sushma ki welcome to Jokata HRMS employee on boarding system. Yeah, I will also give space and then say system dot out dot print. Okay, enter department for employee name. Who is employee here? I already have given the input name, which is Hanisha. So it simply asks enter the department for Hanisha. Okay, so basically this system which starts and then passes the value. Here also you can make it dynamic by asking enter the name of the employee blah and then pass it on. So here I am taking a string department is equals to system dot console dot read line, and I'll try to copy this for multiple times. But I have a designation and I have a salary. Department, designation, and salary. Okay, and then here this will be designation, and then here it is going to be your double salary, and then I shouldn't say like this directly. I'll say double dot plus double of whatever you are taking. Well, that would be assigned to salary. So here I'll say enter salary for Hanisha, enter designation for Hanisha, enter department for Hanisha. And then once that I have taken each and everything, I'll now initiate employee. I'll say employee is equals to new employee of. I am supposed to pass these three things: employee name, department, designation, and salary. Then only an employee object can be created. So I'll simply have to pass on these things: employee name I have to pass, department I have to pass, designation I have to pass, and salary I have to pass. That's how this basically creates a new employee with ID 1001. Okay, and ID is automatically created over here and then passed on. Now till here this is okay, and I'll try to say system dot out dot println of Hanisha details. Control S. Well, what is the name of this class I'm supposed to save? Batao bhai. I have two classes, three classes in it. Which name I should save this file with? The one which is considered as application. So क्या है application का नाम इधर?
Jokata HRMS.
Jokata
Pata
HRMS.
Hachan.
So I've saved it. Understood this one, right? So far, I'm not doing nothing, but I'm having one method called onboard employee, which will ask you and then take the details of department designation, salary, and initiates an employee object, returns it. So here I'm taking that employee and I'm trying to print the employee details. Now here it is all about the employee object. So I have a static ID which will help me to increase this for every other. So here I'll try to take another employee also. Let's say for example I'll try to take another employee. Okay, so I'm taking two employee objects, one after another. I'm trying to print them. Am I clear on this point? Right?
Yes, sir.
So they go Control S, and I come down here to this desktop, February command line. Yeah, Java C, Jokata HRMS dot Java. No errors. Fair enough. So I'll try to say Java Jokata HRMS. Enter. So it says key welcome to Jokata. Enter the department for Hanisha. So the initiation details of Hanisha have started. So department, I would say, DLP designation. I need developer. Salary. Let's say, for example, I'll give some 50,000. Here are the details. Then enter the department for Pratima. So here I'll say again DLP, and I would say tiny tester. Let's say some 55,000, and then you could actually see the employee ID is increased. Yes or no? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Cool enough. But tell me something. After an employee ID is automatically generated, can anyone manually put a finger over there? Not even the admin or HR. Anyone can change. Please try to understand. My employee ID once was 231. Am I clear? Once my employee ID was 231. Then I left this organization for some reason. I wanted to start up certain things, and then I was pulled back to the system again. Once I come back, my current employee ID is 1015. It happened just for a week of time, just 15 days of time. I left on November 30th. I came back on December 15th. Within these 15 days, my employee day has become from 231 to 1015. I cannot hamper. Neither the admin nor the CEO, nobody can hamper. An employee has left and then come back. onboarded as a new employee, he'll get a new ID. Can anyone change it? The answer is no. But the problem here in my program, why I am telling that example is here I actually can attempt to change that value because the bloody you haven't given data abstraction and haven't provided encapsulation. So here I'll say system dot out dot println attempting to change the employee ID manually. Control X, Control V. Now here I'm okay. Here I'm trying to say Tanisha dot employee ID is equals to 200002 something, and then I am also trying to do the same thing. Pratima dot employee ID is equals to 3. Now after this I have done. If I try to print the details again, okay. So here is system dot out dot println a mistake. Employee details after employee IDs are changed. Let's see what will be printed. Okay, so here I'll go here. HRMS. Hanisha, I'll say, department PLP, developer, then, and then welcome to again. It is saying so you could have put it on the top like चलेगा फिर भी अभी के लिए. Pratima, I'll say DLP, tester, 1000. Details are printed. You could actually see the details are printed over here, and then it is attempting to change the employee ID, and you actually could see the employee ID is being changed, which is should not happen, right or wrong? So this is happening because you haven't provided protection to your data members. You understand this point? So never ever give your data members openly available to anyone. What should I do, Ram? Well, please make them private. That's all. तो ये हो जाएगा. हाँ हो जाएगा, देखो तो सही. Private. Now by making them provide private, I am not allowing any outsider to touch the or to access it here or wherever it is. Okay, let's say control S. I'll go back here and we'll try to recompile the program. I immediately get errors saying that employee ID has a private access in the class employee. That means an outsider cannot touch the employee ID. Hope you understand. सो ठीक है राम, ये वाला हो गया, खेल खत्म. मतलब आई कैनॉट टच दिस पार्ट. चलो ठीक है. Okay, and then the point you need to understand, if you wanted to modify the salary, now nobody can modify the salary also. Let's say for example Hanisha is getting an increment. Assume like promotion. So here I am trying to write a small this one public um, employee object. What do you call this? Promote employee, and then employee, and then here what do you mean by promote employee is basically to give a designation change as or to salary. Okay, so increment employee salary, I could say. Okay, this is what I'm trying to do. So here I'll say employee dot salary is equals to employee dot salary into, let's say, 0.2, यानी कि 20%. S is equals to I said. That means the current employee salary is increased to 20%. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
तो
Yes, sir.
अभी ये करने के लिए क्या है? This is what I am planning to do. And here, after giving the details, here I wanted to give promotion. So here I would say the system dot out dot println attempting to give promotion to Anisha and Pratima. तो देखो क्या बोलते हैं ये सुषमा dot increment employee salary of Hanisha. Similarly, Sushma dot increment employee salary of Pratima. Look, this is the specialty with Java. You feel like as if you are speaking to another person. That's why you have to form your method names and then the object name so that you could actually feel that you are asking Sushma, Sushma, increase the salary of Anisha. Sushma, increase the salary of Pratima. Something like that. It looks like a human is actually communicating with another human, right or wrong? That's why Java is said to be the first feature of Java sets. It is simple. Simple का मतलब आसान, easy. ठीक है? So now look at this. Here, I am trying to give the implementation of the salary, incrementation of the salary. I'll come back here. Very unfortunately, the moment when I try to compile this program, I'll get error at some other place, not at the employee ID incrementation, but at the salary part. It says कि salary is also not accessible. अरे यार ये क्या हो गया? Because you only make it private, then you should give a provision to modify it or to access it, or else an outsider will never be able to access things. So here, as a developer, you will decide whether you wanted to give the provision to modify it or not. Salary can be modified. The answer is yes. Department can be modified. Yes. Designation can be modified. Yes. Employee name. Yes. Let's say, for example, by mistake, employee ID spelling is wrong, and then there should be a provision to modify. How about employee ID? Can we modify? The answer is no. So, to these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables, you have to provide necessary accessors and mutators. Mutator is the one who modifies. Accessor is the one who gives you the provision of accessing. Let's say I'll try to give public data type integer called get employee ID. This is what we call as accessor, which gets the value to you. So you'll simply say return this dot employee ID. Basically, this is not required, but it's a habit. Okay. Accessor. Do we need to provide mutators? No mutator is given to employee ID as it cannot be changed in future. Am I clear? Now, in that case, public a string get employee name. So here I will say return this dot employee name. Well, how about mutator? Well, this is basically an accessor. How a mutator looks like, let me show you that. Public mutators always will have a void. They don't return. They just do the modification that you have said and keep void. So you'll say set employee name. So because the second word has to start with the capital, I have given, but however, this exactly should reflect the variable name. Okay. So here a string employee name. So here you would say this dot employee name is equals to supplied value employee name. That's what you said. So this is mutator who modifies the data. Accessor who accesses the data member. Am I clear? Similarly, I can have mutators and accesses for other people. So this is for name, and I can have for department, I can have for designation, and can have for salary. Well, department and department. Don't get bored that I'm writing too much. Okay, this is because we are using a normal console. Well, if you are using Eclipse kind of IDE, these can be generated just with a click. So for time being, I want everyone to observe this. So I'm writing. I'm taking a lot of your time. Designation, and I'll say designation. Similarly, when it's a set designation, and here this will be my double. Okay, so return this dot salary, and then here instead of employee name, this is supposed to be get salary as well as set salary. Well, this gonna be changed to completely double salary. I'll say this dot salary is equals to supplied value salary, and that's it. So control S. Now I have public members. Public means who can be accessed from an outside, members who facilitate me to access these employee related data members. Certain are non-mutable, certain are mutable. Well, up to you which one you wanted to make it mutable or not. Okay, now here in the HR, instead of saying employee dot salary plus is equals to, I am supposed to say like this: employee dot set the salary as like this. Employee dot get the salary into 0.2. Now look at this. The way I am accessing the data member is through a class member. So data member is directly not accessible. Rather, I am able to access them using one of the member function provided by the class, which is a setter and getter. And even I am able to initialize this using one of the member provided constructor. So basically this भाई थोड़ा म्यूट करो अपने आप को, कोई भी है प्लीज. Encapsulation, okay, providing initialization of data members only through the constructor. And then this one, encapsulation second level, providing accessibility and mutation of data members only through this accessors and mutators. This is the second way of encapsulation. Am I clear? There are two ways you can actually achieve this. How about this one? Well, please understand, this is what we call as data abstraction. Hiding data members by making them private. So why you have to do? Because you have the first part called as inter object communication. So you cannot give anything and everything to an outsider. So you are controlling the way your class has to be accessed by an outsider. So here you are accessing the data member only through the accessor. Here you are following complete encapsulation. Here also you are following, here also you are following complete encapsulation. None of the class members are directly pointed by an outsider, even by HR. Even by HR. So after the salary has been increased, so here I'm trying to print system dot out dot println employee details after increment. Let me print them one more time. Okay, Control S. I have come down here. Now, if I say Java C, well, there is one missing of bracket somewhere here. I might have missed out. Which line, Baba? Line number 65. Here. Missing the return statement. Okay. So I need to return this fellow, right? Employee. I have changed these details. Then I should return him also, correct? So that's why it says कि देखो भैया आपने change तो कर दिया but you forgot to return this fellow. You are supposed to return an employee of type. So Control S, come back and हो गया. Now I'll try to run this fellow. Okay. LP developer 30,000. Pratima DLP tester say 40,000. हाँ ये क्या हो गया मैंने salary is equals to 8,000 salary equals to 6,000 that is logical error. Okay, what is the logical error I have done? I said this one but I need to set employee dot get salary plus this one. तो सैलरी कितना सेट करना है भाई यू हैव टू हैव द करंट सैलरी along with that the extra salary which you wanted to give correct or not which I basically forgot and then that's why इनका सैलरी हो गया था 6,000 और 8,000 is it okay अनिशा and प्रतिमा दोनों के लिए इतना मस्त है the salary is enough for you or what
No, sir.
no अरे यार पुणे में एक्सपेंसेस ज्यादा है अनिशा से इसकी नो वे अच्छा चलो ठीक है यू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट राइट तो मैंने ठीक
Yes,
कर दिया
sir.
लॉजिकल एरर को बट प्लीज नोट दैट you know the main intention when I take an example and then take you through that I wanted to show you how you actually apply things in real time. So first we will see a legacy style where things are standards are not applied and then we will identify acha okay chalo this is the wrong place what I have done I need to correct and then we will correct it and then whatever we develop we are developing as an application only never thought of writing programs no way okay we will write few programs also definitely as a part of our session when I take you through a small concept and then I want you to understand that concept I'll take you through a small programmatic example but to apply them it is necessary that we will never try with small examples जैसे कि I always see when somebody speaks about polymorphism they'll take an example of animal and then overload the method called something called as sound making sound and then they'll create different objects a dog a cat a kind of thing please don't go with such examples ठीक है never practice those examples we will never them we'll never use them in real time we in real we will use these kind of examples so I am writing all the comments also necessarily available for you people to understand what exactly I am planning what exactly I'm thinking now why I am doing this practice this is because I want you people to get habituated to this model of coding why do you think that you are going to work in a project for your entire life in the same project or the project is made live and you will be moving to other project what happens right and in general also you may not be a developer all your life you will become senior developer and then will become TL and then you will become a manager so when you are crossing this phase do you think that you will still be writing the code no right so once you cross your level and then you have juniors working under you you will guide them to write now think of it if somebody has to manage the code that you have written a 5 years ago 6 years ago they should not struggle saying ki, what is the purpose of this particular thing so if they don't know who have written or what have been written what is the purpose of that they will suffer a lot am I clear on this point they should not
Yes.
suffer so you have to give as
Yes,
much
sir.
as much these kind of comments as possible, so that people will easily understand, Acha, okay, fine, this is what is happening. For instance, if you wanted to know how a code actually is being written, let's say uh, java.lang.string class source code. तो देखो कितना कमेंट लिखा है भाई. The original version written was in 1994. फिर उसके बाद last updated was in 2013, मतलब as per to this one. So they have given all of that, and इधर आया था, you would be seeing, see, they have given enough explanation what is this is all about. So who are the others of this string class? These three people, four people have involved in writing this string class. One might have been created, another might have modified, added method, something like that. Okay. So since JDK 1.0, and then here public final class string implements serializable and comparable of type string. Remember this one, right? So and then look at this. This value is used for character storage, public final char value, and then you have hash, and then these are all the values which we have. Then we have functionalities below. Slowly, it will tell you public string char value. This is the constructor, and then they have explained. And there is another way of constructor. What exactly it will do inside, and then they have given comments. So this is exactly how they will write a class. Now, before writing a method, they will write each and everything. Look at this, just to write three constructors and then few values, they have taken 370, 400 lines of code. It's not so easy, right? But this is how exactly you are supposed to write your code. If you're not writing your code in this way, then you are not following standards. Pretty simple. Pretty simple as such. तो अभी तक constructors ही बता रहे. Now this is the first method is empty. They have taken till here. It was only constructors that he was explaining. Now int length, he is giving a comment, returns the length of the string. The length is equals to the number of, which is characters in the string. Return the length of sequence of characters represented by this object in public int length. Return value dot length, jo bhi hai. So these kind of comments are pretty much required when you write code. Please have this as a habit. Will you be? Yeah, I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying you write Java level of code, but who knows? Tomorrow you might get placed in Oracle, and then you are not writing proper standards of code. Then you are not selected at all. First of all, in the code test, when they ask you to write something, and then they don't see these kind of comments in that code, they'll simply reject you. Am I clear? So have the standard practice. Well, I come back. So that's all about inter-object communication, data abstraction, and encapsulation. Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, बढ़िया. Okay, so we will continue this example further. Once we come to abstraction, again we will continue this example. But till abstraction, I want you to understand how Java behaves inside for inheritance, polymorphism, all that stuff. So I will take you through chota mota, small, different kind of examples. Okay, give me 2 minutes of time. I'll have some water and come back. We'll start inheritance at 11:30.
Okay, sir.
2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. So when you speak about inheritance in Java, basically, this inheritance, which is acquiring properties and functionalities or behaviors from parents, can be obtained in 4 different ways. In fact, 3 different ways. The fourth one is your abstraction itself. The first one is called as use as is. देखो मैं एक एग्जांपल एक जनरिक एग्जांपल समझाता हूँ तुम लोगों को. Assume my father, it's something like this. My father has a land, and in which he have constructed, let's say, 2 bedroom, एक छोटा सा एक हॉल और एक बेडरूम का जैसा होम, एंड एक छोटा सा किचन आश्रम. एंड देन उसके बाद उन्होंने पूरा ये बगीचा जैसा बना लिया, मतलब एज अ गार्डन. नाउ assuming that this, to whom this property belongs to, by the way, currently to my father. But let us say I'm doing a job and I'm applying for a loan. Okay, तो एक जनरल सवाल पूछता हूँ. If I ask you in a class, how many of you have own house? How many of you will raise your hand? Can you please raise your hand? How many of you have own house? So many people raising their hands. Divya, okay. For example, Divya has raised the hand saying that I have a own house. Divya, आपने बनाया. Have you built the house?
Sir,
Have you built the house? मतलब you have taken the loan and then build the house, or your father built it?
my father, sir.
Your father built it. Okay. And then क्या हुआ? Hands खत्म हो गया. थोड़े hands नीचे आ गया भाई. अच्छा, Swati also have removed the hand. Swati, you have built the house or your father?
My father, sir.
Then why did you raise your hand saying your own hand? Own का मतलब क्या होता है? What is the meaning of own? If you build it, if you own it, then it is called as own. But you raise your hand even if it belongs to your parent, right? Correct or not?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
that is what is called as inheritance. The first rule is use as it is belonging to you. The moment when it belongs to parents, please understand, if you were, if you are a child of your father parent, then the properties belong to your father by default is of yours. You can use them as is, plus you can sell them as is. I repeat, you can sell them as is. Matlab, after my father, assume this property has been made as my name. Can I sell this as it is to a person who can purchase it through housing.com?
No.
Why? It's on my name now. You understand? See, when I own the property, like for example, if it is on my name, I'm saying once it comes to on my name, can I sell it or not? It's on my name now. I can sell it. Am I clear?
Yes, you
Second,
can.
second क्या है? I do not have a hall over here. I have a chota sa hall. So I have made this as, bedroom number 2, and then this was originally bedroom number 1, and this is my kitchen. And then I might have constructed a hall. Now the point which I wanted to ask you is something like this. Before that, I have constructed, when I sell the house, see here it is, I'm acquiring, and then I am giving up or selling. The seller, will he see the bedrooms and kitchen or not? That's my question. I repeat my question. When I am selling it as it is, will the seller get these 2 bedrooms and kitchen, which are built by my father? Yes. And then, chalo, before I sell, assuming I have made one more hall over here, a big hall, and decorated it like anything. थोड़े दिन हम लोगों ने use किया था. That means I am making a change of it. That is add extra properties or functionalities. Can I do that? The answer is yes. So when you acquire something from your parent and you are interested to modify it, you can modify, add extra functionalities. Yes, I can do that. Now, after that, I have added this all, so I have sold it. Then can you please tell me what is that the seller will actually see? Will he see only the hall that is prepared by me, or he will also get the benefit of the 2 bedrooms and kitchen that were built by my father? Now I am selling the house after building the hall, after constructing the hall. So will the seller, the person who is purchasing this house, I'm selling it and then purchaser of this house, will he get the benefit of these 2 bedrooms and kitchen also, or he will get only of this hall? What is
Get
the
all
benefit
those
he can
things,
get?
2 bedrooms and kitchen also.
All
Yeah,
of them,
both
मतलब
things.
जितना present है उतना आ जाएगा उनके पास, correct or not? That means
Yes,
I
sir.
can add extra functionalities, and when I sell this object, they can get the benefit of supplied or acquired properties and behaviors from parent plus added things by
Additional function.
myself. Okay na? Fair तीसरा. What is that I can do? I can actually modify existing props or functionalities. Oh, you can do that. The answer is yes, you can do that. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So that means, let's say, for example, the kitchen, the way my father has given is old style. I have made it as a modular kitchen. When I made it as a modular kitchen, okay, the purchaser, what is that he will see? Will he see the older kitchen or the newer kitchen?
New
See the
Year.
newer,
Newer
modified
kitchen.
one, modified one, correct?
Modifier.
So I can modify the existing functionality also. So these are the three things what I can do when I actually get a property from my parent, and then I can sell it off also. That's the biggest thing. Now, why I'm speaking about the selling concept? Yeah, softwares are meant to be sold. So when you extend an object and then add four more functionalities and then make it as a bigger object, what is the purpose of that? You are making it to sell it so that you can get better beneficiary. That's what Oracle have done. Oracle have taken a core Java version, okay, and then they have implemented and now they have sold it. Sold or not? They are charging for Java post to that 11, correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So everybody will develop software for the purpose of making money only. आज नहीं तो कल, कल नहीं तो परसों, बट मनी तो करेगा वो. ठीक है, तो हम भी वही करेंगे, मेकिंग मनी. तो नाउ कम बैक टू अ स्मॉल एग्जांपल टू demonstrate, use as it is, add extra functionalities and modify existing functionalities, and then to prove that the caller will always see the newer one but not the older. Okay, so we'll come to a chota mota kiddish kind of example. Okay, see, I am a basically speaking, my father was a teacher, my grandfather was also a teacher. My grandfather was a Sanskrit teacher, and also a school headmaster. My father was a maths teacher, and there is a proverb in Sanskrit, पंडित पुत्र परमशुंठा, यानी कि जो टीचर का लड़का होता है ना, वो तो एकदम जीरो रहता है, निकम्बा, कुछ नहीं आता उसको. जैसे मेरा फादर मैथ्स टीचर एंड आई एम जीरो इन मैथ्स, सीरियसली आई एम जीरो इन मैथ्स. ओके, तो मेरे जैसे, लेकिन इट इज फॉर्चुनेट दैट आई हैव बिकम अनदर काइंड ऑफ फैकल्टी. So the teaching skills I have inherited from my parents, correct or not?
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
but
sir.
I have added certain functionalities, which is speaking in English, and then I have modified that functionality, which is training. They are traditional subject trainers. I am a Java trainer. That's all. तो थोड़ा मोटा मैंने ऐड तो किया और मैंने मॉडिफाई भी किया, समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो assume I have a class called calculator. Someone like me, let's say I'm developing a calculator and I'm keeping this name as Ram's calculator. And then I struggled a lot because I don't know maths and I'm struggling a lot, and then I'm trying to develop functionalities and public wide add, which will take int a comma int b, and in return this will say system dot out dot println division is s a plus b. This is not a single line of code. Ram has written it almost 1,000 lines of code. इतना आसान भी नहीं है. You know what? I struggled. I almost spent 5 years of time to develop this addition method. Assuming, and then I have public void, subtract. and then it takes int a comma int b. Here I'll say system.out.println subtraction is a minus b. Okay, so I have the calculator. Please understand what is the purpose of software development, to sell it. So I sold this for a cost of 10K in the market. And then there are people who wanted to have software for calculator and they have purchased it. So there is another person who wanted to build a mathematical system and then he wanted to make use of my calculator methods and he has purchased this software. So there is a class called calc test, assume, or mathematics application, and then he is trying to use make use of it. So he has is public static void main string args, and this guy is trying to call this Ram's calculator calc is equals to new Ram's calculator, and then he's trying to call calc dot add of 2 comma 2 and then calc dot subtract of 10 comma 5. Well, pretty simple, right? Basically, right? Okay, control S, and this is calc test Java. Now I'll come here, Java C, calc test Java, Java, calc test. There is nothing special in this. This is inter-object communication. Okay, class object, inter-object communication rule. Now, somebody came to know that in Java, there is a facility that you can make use of your parent classes by simply using a keyword called extends. That's a keyword you need to use to get the properties and behaviors loaded into your memory. I repeat this word, loaded into your memory, which you need to understand. I'll show a small diagram also for it. So I have a class called, let's say, uh, economic calc extends Ram's calculator. So this is what do you call this? मतलब basic लोगों के लिए. The people were struggling to pay 10,000 for my calculator. किसी को पता चला कि make use of the functionalities can be done by simply using extending this. And please understand, no code at all in this class. So this is basically use as is. Okay, demonstrating use as is. This guy who wanted to sell this like economic calculator, okay, he simply extends RAM calculator, but he hasn't added anything. So this guy is selling it for a cheap cost of, let's say, some 3K. So the moment when somebody comes out in the market saying, ki, well, don't go for it, that's a costier effort, then I'm giving you a cheapest price, then people always tends to go and then take the cheapest one. So here, this guy also have stopped taking my license for the next year. Now this year he has purchased a 3,000 license. Economic calc is equals to new economic calc, and then he has started calling addition subtraction using this one, control S, and I'll come back and we'll try to recompile this program, run the program. You still get your output, but if you have observed, the one that the caller is calling is economic calc, but not the RAM. You can see there is no code inside this class, but simply by making that I extends Ram's calculator, I have the capability to sell this fellow related functionalities to an outsider. As I told you, I have been telling you in the diagram, I am trying to sell, I am trying to sell. So what exactly happens? Let me explain here. So the entire stuff that I was speaking about, I'll make it as a smaller diagram. इसको यहाँ पे रहने देते, ठीक है? So here is my caller. This caller is calc test dot main. This is the static memory which is allocated for main. तो यहाँ पे क्या होता है? Initially when you have called क्या है इसका नाम? Economic calc is equals to blah blah blah. You said mu, whatever you wanted to tell, you told here. Great. Now, what exactly happens when you say like this, and then below you are trying to call calc dot add of 2 comma 2, calc dot subtract of 10 comma 5. That's what you said, right? Well, what exactly happens over here? We'll try to discuss. ठीक है. अब क्या हो गया? The moment when you say you are trying to create new memory for economic calc. Now, when you try to call this, basically, you know that constructors are called. Agreed? Yes or no? Constructors are called. As I told you, if you don't write a constructor, a compiler will attempt to write the constructor for you. Correct? And I also told you it will add a constructor to load your parental related things into your memory. For instance, if you see this guy extends java.lang.object, who is our parent class. This object is the parent class of every class that you write. Agreed? This we have already discussed, if you remember, in the first session. So object is the root class of all other classes. So here the compiler has or might have attempted to give a constructor for you, a default constructor in which he is calling super. So here I am trying to call my super class constructor. This is what it will do. So though you haven't written, this is by default written. Similarly here also, even if you haven't written, it might have written economic calc, which will also go ahead and call super class. And this is also a default constructor added by compiler. So what exactly happens here? The moment when you say new economic calc, you are actually making a call to this fellow. So this is being called. Please understand. This is being called. So call to the child class constructor has happened. Now, and then you are asking it to be loaded into a new memory. The keyword new memory requests Java runtime environment to provide a new memory. So somewhere else here, a new memory is being provided. So here it contains the heap part as well as stack part, thinking that, I mean, visual, how many functionalities are there in my calculator? It will try to load those members. Come back and then see the class definition. How many members are there in it? Is there any member inside? Have we defined any member inside? No member. तो मेंबर्स ही नहीं है इसको लोड करने के लिए बराबर. So there is no concept of initialization of members also, but as a first line of this constructor, a call is happening to super. Who is super? This fellow. Then the runtime environment will jump to this RAM's calculator, and here basically what it will do, it will try to divide this whole memory virtually into two parts, allocating your super class members to be loaded over here. I have made this space for my object, and then here it is loading another memory. So here is where I have my add, which will take int comma int, and I have subtract that also take int comma int. So देखो भाई, these are the two members, and I have my method signatures loaded into the stack somewhere else. And similarly, the subtract method loaded over here. Instructions of this are available. And here, then it will try to, after loading this, before initializing them here, it will try to see this RAM's calculator extends object. So it will try to load all the object related members into this slot. So, well, this is my economic calc, and this is happened to be my RAM calculator. Now, who basically extends something called as object. Hope this is clear, right? And then economic does not have any members. Well, after doing all that stuff, the memory location which is pointing here, let's say for example 10286 or any number, memory location number, is being assigned to this variable calc. So calc will become a pointer to this address. Now you are calling dear calc, give me the method of addition, and you need to supply 2 comma 2. So Jerry will start searching for the method add. Is there any method called add? No, but its memory is extended to a further where I can go and then search for, and I could able to see the add method over here in my parents memory, and I'll call it, and I'll supply 2 and 2 over here, and method instructions are executed accordingly, and I get the output as addition is 4. Similarly, when you call subtraction. Clear on this point up to this level?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
तो अब देखो थोड़े दिन के बाद
Yes, sir.
या तो थोड़े दिन के बाद people come to know, let's say for example there is uh, a guy called Pawan in our session. Okay, so Pawan came to know कि ये तो it is a halfway, it's having only addition and subtraction, we actually can provide more functionality. So he started developing his own calculator. Pawan's calc extends Ram's calculator, or he wanted to get this through this fellow economic calc, which is the cheapest, and then he started selling it for 5K with 2 more added functionalities. It's all about selling in the market, guys. Please understand. So nobody develop things for free of cost. End of the day, one or other way, they will be. So one thing is this guy also will have public Pavan's calc, which will also happily go and call super. Well, this is what is this? Default constructor added by compiler. फिर उसके बाद he has added 2 more functionalities. One is multiplication, another is division. Multiply, and this will say multiplication is a into b, and then I have divide functionality. So here I will say division is a by b. Right, and then he sold it in the market of 5K. So this guy, the one who is working with, came to know that there is a new person entered into the IT market with added extra features and then with the cheapest cost. So he stopped taking the license from here, and now he has purchased license of this library, Pavan's Calc. Now he started calling all the functionalities. Let's say calc dot multiply of 3 comma 3, and then calc dot divide 10 comma 5. Okay, control S, and now what is it I have done? Well, what I have done is here I have started using multiply as well as division. Okay, fair enough. So अरे यार ये क्या हो गया? Okay, I started calling addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But please understand, which calculator I'm trying to call is, it's not economic calc anymore. I mean, clear, this is not economic calc anymore. Well, what I'm trying to call is Pawan's calc. Okay. Now, the moment when you say Pawan's calc, cal equals new Pawan's calc, it will try to load the Pawan class first. So here I have Pawan's calc. Well, this Pawan's calc extends economic calc, and this guy, economic calculator, honestly speaking, does not have anything in his memory. It is an empty. Now the Pavan calc have few more members. Who are they? We have multiply, which will take int comma int, and we have divide, which will also take int comma int. These are the two functions, and then when it loads, it will load, and then it will try to load his parents first, and then it will go to academic calc. Academic calc have no members, but it is extending ram calc, so it will go ahead and then load the ram calc, adds his members, and then further it also loads object. So all of this has happened when you simply say I am extending someone. Okay, so when you say extends, this is all how the memory has been built up. 1 minute, guys. Sir, Ravi sir. బాగున్నాను సార్. సార్ ఒక హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్ సార్ క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాను. ఇది అయిపోతుంది 12:30కి అయిపోతుంది. యా, ఓకే సార్. అదే సార్, రిక్రూట్మెంట్ కోసం మా హెచ్ఆర్ ఒకసారి మిమ్మల్ని కనెక్ట్ చేయమన్నారు, దానికోసమని. అలాగే, ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ. Okay, now so this is what happens. Now calc is pointing to this location. Now here, when you the call starts like this, like you are calling calc.add. Okay, fire enough. The JVM or JRE, it comes here and then checks key by where is add. Is there an add method? No, but there is a way. It will go to the external memory and check. Is there add? Nah. And but it still have a memory extra. Do it have add method? Yes, it is. So from the grandparent memory location, it will try to pull up this thing. Am I clear? Similarly, subtract. And then when it comes to multiply, it will call from here. That's how basically we get, यहाँ पे मैंने save किया कि नहीं किया? Control S. I'll come down here, recompile and run. Well, you could see multiplication and division. Okay, understood now? This is how basically inheritance happens. Now we'll speak about one more last point, which is pretty important. Okay, let's say for example the division is really good and with one small bug in it. So if somebody supplies the denominator as 0, you know that any number cannot be divided by 0. It leads to infinity value, which cannot be holded by our RAM stack and all. So it leads to stack overflow error. That's why Java stops that and then says there is a divide by 0 exception. So let's see that. You try to recompile this program, no problem at all. And when you run the program, it actually leads to something called as an arithmetic exception divide by 0. So this is the problem. People started reporting that the software has a bug. It is effective when you supply a non-zero denominator, but there is a bug when you supply a zero denominator. So people have started highlighting, and then another developer, let's say Hanisha, comes into the picture and says, let's fix this. And then she says the class Hanisha calc extends Pavan's calc, and then she has provided a fix to that. Okay, now here after fixing it, she also started selling it for the same 5K price for competition. So she has fixed and then still selling the same price. So obviously people will go for the new calculator rather than going for Pawan's calculator, correct? So here she overrides the functionality which is provided by a previous implementation. Well, what exactly she has provided? You see, this is, if you have seen it, the division is quite good when B is non-denominator. So she'll say simply if B is not is equals to 0, and this is fine for me. Else, if this is not the case, I will supply a meaningful message to the end user. Bhaiya, please try with a proper value. Make clear, that's what she has done. The change that he has done, instead of showing an error message, showing a meaningful message to the end user. Cannot divide any number with 0. Please supply a proper denominator. That's what she said. So people will realize that we cannot supply 0 when they see this message. That's what she has done. And then this is being released into the market, people started taking Anisha calc is equals to new Anisha calc. Control X. This is how exactly software evaluation happens. Okay. Now I'll come down here. We'll try to recompile the program now. Right. How what is go? Okay. Okay. Now previous output is this one. Okay. Now look at the output. The moment when I try to run this, so I'll get a meaningful message. Can I divide any number with 0? Please apply a proper denominator rather than getting an error message which every user don't want it to see. Am I clear? So here what happened? What might have happened here? So basically now we are no more working with Pawan's calculator, where rather we are working with something called as Hanisha calc, right? So now Hanisha calc is equals to Hanisha calc. So here the first section is loaded with, which is also pointing to or extending to Pawan calc. And then here I have a divide method which will take int comma an integer and has its method loaded. It is pretty simple. Now you can see there is a method with me, and within the same memory I have another method also loaded, but this is not visible to an outsider as long as this guy has in the first place. Let's think of it. For example, you have a pen in your hand, you do have another pen in your bag, assume in a classroom, and your lecturer or professor says ki, hey, give me a pen, give me a pen. So you don't keep your pen aside and then put your hand inside the bag and take out the pen. No, right? So whatever is there in your hand, you will try to give the same pen, correct? The same thing happens over here. When somebody asks for the division method, saying calc dot divide of 10 comma 0, even if you are supplying 0, the call is still coming to calc object, and then it points to here and it is asking for divide method. Is there a divide method here? Yes, it is. Will I go to my next block of memory? No. If I don't find a method, then I will allow the runtime system to go and then check. If I am having the method, there is no way JRE will go to the next block. It will see here and then find out this method and then happily runs it. Am I clear? Okay.
Yes.
And so ye ho gaya. That's how it works. But how about it? See, if you have seen it, as I told you, this line of code, this one is 1,000 lines code, right? Assuming this is a 1,000 lines method. So are you writing 1,000 lines again here in the if condition? Are you? The answer is yes. Code repeatancy. But you know that when the b is not is equals to 0, it actually works pretty fine. Then what is the meaning of rewriting the code again? Can I make use of my parent method, which is already loaded into my memory here? I am already having my parents method loaded. Why do I rewrite the code inside this method into my method? Now you can make a trick of it. Here what you can say, on a conditional basis, you always can call your super dot divide method. Hope you're understanding. So inheritance gives you the provision not only to use the method as is, but also can call it whenever you want from the child class. So you can override it. You can send it as it is a part of your class. And while the time of overriding also, you can call that method. Well, see the flexibility. These are all the provisions you have. Now you can see if here previously it was printing that one code repeatancy जैसे कि system.out.println division is this one is what is printing previously. Now I am not printing this. Please understand. I am not printing. Rather, I am calling one of my superclass method, and then the controller jumps into this class and then executes it there when b is not equal to 0. If that is not the case, output is from my end. So I am able to showcase two different kind of functionalities on my name. So caller will think that I am giving the output, but actually I am demonstrating my output plus I am also capable of demonstrating my father's output. Correct? Understood? Control
Yes,
S,
sir.
and I'll come down here. We'll recompile this program, and here it says कि क्या हुआ था इसको. अच्छा, a by b नहीं रहे, एक comma b is what you are supposed to pass. My mistake. You are supposed to pass two variants to it, right? Comma is what you are supposed to pass when you're calling the method. Well, recompile the program and run the program, you will see the same output. But this output is not coming from my end, whereas this is coming from my superclass. So you wanted, you could actually print, you know, dot out dot print, calling my superclass for divide method, and then you could actually print this super. Control S. You can see this. Basically, you are calling your superclass, and then here you are giving it from your class. Okay, you understand this one, right? So these are all the different ways you could actually implement inheritance. Well, this is what we call as runtime polymorphism. At runtime, based on the input, you could decide how you can showcase or exhibit your behavior as a parent or as a child. This is what we call as runtime polymorphism. Method is same, but you are showcasing two different kind of behaviors, one as a parent and one as a your own way. Well, this call if condition you are deciding, and then sometimes you are showing behavior from your parental level, sometimes you are showing behavior from your level. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is called as first part of polymorphism, which is runtime polymorphism. It happens only in inheritance. Well, at runtime, a child class overridden method will behave either of the way. So what do you mean by runtime polymorphism? At runtime, overridden functionality of a child class will behave either as parent or as child or as both. That you cannot achieve so easily. That is possible only through Java inheritance. I mean to say runtime polymorphism, OOPS concepts. Okay, na? So here it's not about Java. Please understand, it's about OOPS concept. Well, Java is one of the programming language who have effectively implemented it for the first time compared to C++. And then there are so many other languages who have implemented this also, like C Sharp, Python, and everyone. But here I'm not trying to price Java. I'm trying to show you the way we implement it in Java, the simplest way, easiest way. Clear? This is all about runtime polymorphism and inheritance. Any doubts so far?
Also,
No? Excellent. Now, well, during this inheritance, there are certain points which you have to note down and you have to remember those things. Well, these key points, which actually helps us to understand how Java behaves in the background, how Java, treats objects in the background. That's what is very important. The first point which you need to understand how constructors are loaded, how constructors are executed. So in inheritance, always superclass constructors are executed first, and then the child class constructors are executed. But but the way it loads, the child class members are loaded first and then the superclass members are loaded, but the initialization happens from the parent to child. So if you have remember the very first example that we have discussed on the day one, ये वाला नहीं रे, वो किधर चला गया था? I think. Do you remember that example? Desktop में है क्या? Where did it go? चलो ठीक है. I'll write down. So dynamic method dispatch is what I said. A class my parent. याद है example आपको? Day one we have discussed, and I have a class called my child, which will print thousand kind of thing. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
वही वाला एग्जांपल मैं फिर से लिखता हूँ आपके लिए. I'm unable to find that class file, so I'm rewriting that example. Okay ना? So here print my details. Okay. There is a person who is calling class Okay. So this is a simple class. So if you have seen this, general expectation is you will see कि देखो ये वाला print होएगा, and because you have called super, so expecting this will call my parent and prints hello message, correct or not? But basically it is not going to happen. Why? Because this method you are speaking about is loaded into the child class memory. So please try to understand, loading, the child loads first and then parent loads next, but initialization happens from the parent to child. So when you are calling this print details method, JVM has to make a call. So he is coming outside, and then it actually finds this method is already available in the child class memory, which is overridden. It will never go to parent, and it will call this one only. Because of this reason, dynamic method dispatch test Java. It prints amount which is 0 and then 1000. Okay, so a point here, the thumb rule that you need to understand, um, you know, that's this above method is overridden even when you call it to parent class constructor. The call always lands on overridden method. So the rule says key. It is once a method is overridden, irrespective where you are calling it from, that doesn't matter. JVM always go and then see the new method. Am I clear? So that means once a method is overridden, it is overridden. You always see the newer one. You will never see the older. So who know the details of older? Only my child. Am I clear? I repeat this. Only my child will know that. Is this clear?
Sir.
Okay. So if like if somebody will ask you generally कि देखो मुझे मेरे parent का method चाहिए, then this fellow is accessible only in my child. My outside of my child, nobody can access this method via this child. I repeat, via this child. But if you wanted to call that method, you can create instance of my parent. Then this is called. So if you say, my parent is equals to new my parent, and that's all. Now you could actually see the method is being called one more time. Now this is getting called through the parent because you are trying to create direct parent object, but through the child, I repeat, through the child, as long as the call is happening through the child, the memory is created for the child. You will never see overridden methods of the parent class. Am I clear on this point? This is what we call as uh, dynamic method dispatch. This behavior is specifically found, especially when you override the methods in inheritance. This is one key point to be understand. एक बार override कर दिया and you are trying to see that through your child, you will never see the old one. What if you wanted to see from the child? You manually have to call super dot. Is this clear?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall we move to the next point?
Yes, sir.
Sure, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So there is a keyword called final. Am I clear? I repeat, there is a keyword called final. So what is the use of the final? So we'll see that one. Let's say, for example, if I have declared this fellow as a final, so please try to understand. Final is, the variable is defined as the final, right? Amount is defined as final. Then it immediately gets two restrictions. One restriction, we should supply a value to it. Second, what is the second point is that value is never changed. Am I clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So because this amount is defined as a final, it actually gets two restrictions. One, you must supply value, and once supplied, it cannot be modified. Control S. Let's see this one. I'll remove this my parent also for time being. Control S, and I'll come back CLS. Now I am recompiling this program, and you will immediately get an error message when you try to run the program. ये क्या हो गया था? Final int amount.
So there you initialized in my child, right?
क्या? नहीं, when I say final, basically it actually should not take the amount modified. It even the child level also. Mhm.
Sir, sir,
Hmm.
the rule also says that we can initialize it through constructor.
अच्छा ठीक है तो हाँ सॉरी आई एम इनिशियलाइजिंग इट थ्रू कंस्ट्रक्टर दैट्स व्हाई ओके सो यहाँ पे करना है सॉरी constructor is while the time of loading only, right? So it is as good as like whatever this one, they both belongs to the same level. Well, I'll try to say control C, control V, control S, Now here cannot assign a value to final variable amount. Okay, so this is what it says. You cannot assign a value to a final variable. And what if you haven't assigned that value and you are trying to print the value? Well, it gets its default value. Okay, now the same final variable, assume if you have given it to a function. Okay, now it is not final, assume, I mean amount is not final, but you have tried giving it to print details. Okay, well, what happens? Well, it says key you cannot override print details method because it is final. When you say final, see, if when two members are arguing with each other, one person, no, 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 this is final. That means the statement that he is saying is a final, it cannot be altered. Similarly, when you use a final keyword, either with a variable, I mean, if you use it with a variable, the value cannot be modified. If you use it with a method, that method cannot be overridden. The parent is declaring this is the final version of the method, you cannot override it. Am I clear? So yeah, I'm writing the comment. Using final with a method will will restrict child class to override it. Declare. Now declaring a variable as a final will restrict class methods to modify it. Now, what if you declare a class itself as a final? If you say this as a final, control S, and then you try to recompile the program, you will see you cannot inherit the class at all. That means making a class final, okay, declaring a class final restrict all other classes to inherit or extend it. Will you remember this point? Okay, this is all about working on final. So if you declare it with a variable, उसका value restrict हो जाएगा. Declare it with a method, overridden restrict हो जाएगा. Declare it with a class, you cannot extend that class at all. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is all about final point. This is the point you need to note down. What is the final? How to work with? And then there is one more thing, which is about abstraction. So we have spoken so far about these things like kidhar tha ye wala, this one. So we spoke about class object inheritance, use as is, and what is the B? Add extra props or functionalities, and then C, modify existing props or functionalities. Okay, this is what we have spoken all about, and we also have seen one version of polymorphism. We'll see another version of polymorphism and stop for today. Abstraction itself will require 2 hours for me to explain. We need to discuss about abstract classes and then interfaces, and then what is the use of it, how an object abstraction happens, how an object can behave as multiple type of objects at runtime. We'll discuss all that stuff tomorrow with a clear example. Okay. For now, we'll speak about the second way of polymorphism. We call it as the static version. It's not dynamic, whereas static version, and then we will stop. So here we are trying to see two different kind of polymorphism. One is dynamic or runtime polymorphism, which we have seen in overridden methods, right? And then the second version is what we are going to see is static, or people also call this as a compile time polymorphism in overloading methods is what we are going to see. And after this discussion, we will stop for today. Am I clear? So how about in the post lunch? Would you like to have a session in the post lunch? Or you wanted to work on the examples and assignments? Don't know what Shweta has given. Shweta has given an assignment. Da, da, da. No, she hasn't. I'll ask her to post an assignment here after the session. For now, we'll see. First batch has been assigned to different teams, and then they're all replying back saying, "Ki, good." So you will also move to different batches by April first week. ठीक है भाई, अच्छा काम करो, जाने के बाद मुझे अप्रैल फुल मत बनाना, ठीक है? ठीक है,
Sure,
I'll
sir.
come
We
back.
will give best.
Yeah, you people are good, enthusiastic. I have been observing that. Have been observing. लेकिन पुराना बैच छोटा था. There are only 15 members, so I could monitor everyone. This batch is bigger, right? So I cannot monitor everyone. I can monitor only by giving assignments and then the way I get my responses. Okay. तो देखो, static polymorphism बहुत आसान है. You already knew it. Like, how many of you have seen Bahubali movie? All of you, right? Or is there anyone in my class who haven't seen the Bahubali movie? Everybody have seen it?
Yes, sir.
Like, there is an actor called Prabhas. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So this guy have showcased or delivered two different kind of functionalities as a senior Bahubali as well as junior Bahubali. The first one is called as Amarendra Bahubali and the other one is called as Mahendra Bahubali. Correct or not? Now, how the same person can showcase two different kind of behaviors and we accept it? Well, both of these have accepted two different kind of inputs. So his output is also different. The actor is same. The inputs are different. So output is also different. So Ram, what is the input? Dekho bhaiya, costumes, dialogues, and direction. Correct? Now, similarly, makeup also. Costume का मतलब makeup. यहाँ पे भी he has given three different things. When you change these inputs, his output is also changed. These inputs technically, I repeat, technically called as parameters of function. So when you change the parameters of a function, this function can showcase different behaviors at runtime. Then it is said to be polymorphism. One phase, Mr. Prabhas, one phase, different formations. This is because his parameters are changing and then he can be considered as a different actor at runtime. Am I clear on this point? Point समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
तो एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देखेंगे, वेरी छोटा सा एग्जांपल देखेंगे, ठीक है? तो I'll come down here. I have my class called calculator, and in this calculator, see, when I say I'm speaking about calculator, you need to first understand one point. Like, Ram is trying to build a calculator related software. तो पहले एक को पकड़ के देखते उसका फंक्शनलिटी. There is a symbol called plus. Do I have different plus symbols for different kind of inputs? I mean to say, मेरा कहने का मतलब था 1, 2, 3, and then I have 4, 5, 6, I have 7, 8, 9, and then I have 0, and then there is a dot, and there is an is equals to symbol. अब देखो, in this calculator I have a plus symbol, and I have a I have a minus symbol, and I have a multiplication symbol, and I have a division symbol. छोटा सा calculator है मेरा, बहुत ही छोटा. Okay, you know that you press a number and then press a symbol and then click on equals, you will get your output here. Now you have to tell me, I wanted to add 1, 2. Tell me which symbol I have to use.
Plus.
Plus. अच्छा ठीक है. फिर I wanted to add 1.2, 2. Both are two different kind of inputs. Which symbol I am supposed to use? Do I have any extra plus for float values, or do I use the same plus symbol?
Same plus
Same
symbol.
plus.
अच्छा, same plus symbol, तो ठीक है. Let's say I have a 2 comma 4.2. फिर it be same plus symbol.
Same plus.
Yes,
तो
of
ठीक
course.
है. मतलब even if your inputs are changing, you are trying to use the same behavior. Are you? Yes or no? You're trying to use the same behavior, same functionality rather than, I could say. Hope you're understanding what I'm trying to convey. Well, I'm trying to convey that your usage of functionality should be same, even your inputs are changing when you develop this as a software. So when I have to develop this calculator as a software, I have to provide a function name called plus, and that plus should satisfy all the different kind of inputs. So how do I write that? Well, in C language, if this is a C language, if you try to say public void plus, which will take int a comma int b, and we'll try to say public void plus same plus one more type of method, which will take int a comma double b, you are gone case. It says key this plus is already been there defined as a function. You cannot write another function with the same name, but OOPS has to support it. Please understand that is what we call as polymorphism. One function showing different functionality is based on the different inputs. It is the same Prabhas that inputs are getting changed. So public void plus, which will take double a comma int b, and I have some functionalities, and I have public void plus, which will take double a comma double b. Well, here I will say system.out.println addition of int comma int plus. We'll try to take out this control C, control V. देखो भैया, addition of int comma double. This one is addition of double comma int, and this one is addition of double comma double. Right? So here I have a class called polytest, यानी कि polymorphism test. I have my public static void main string args. I am expecting this calculator to showcase me different behavior. See, look at the way output is coming. All these outputs are different from each other, right or wrong? Well, I'm calling the same method. I'll simply change the input. I am expecting Java to behave differently for all the 4 different calls. There is one more point we need to identify. We will see that also. So here I'll say calculator calc is equals to new calculator, and I'm trying to call calc dot plus of 1 comma 2 two integers, int comma int, right? And I'll say calc dot plus of 1.2 comma 2 is double comma int, and here I will go and call calc dot plus of 2 comma 2.2, which is basically int comma double. And finally I will say calc dot plus of 2.2 comma 3.3, which is basically double comma double. Okay, control S, polytest. Try to save this Java. Pretty simple example, right? There is nothing much. I have written 4 different methods with the same name, and I'm also calling them, and I am expecting based on my parameters, I'm expecting this actor has to show me different outputs. Okay. All right, come down here. CLS, Java C, polytest.java, Java, polytest. देखो Are you able to see different outputs, including
Yes,
that
sir.
addition of print wala? Matlab Java has the capability to identify a method based on your inputs, but it do have a limitation. You need to understand the way you are calling is what matters. You are trying to call this as plus of int comma int. That's why I have written here like this. And here you are trying to call plus of double comma int. You are calling like this. Agreed? And here you are calling plus of int comma double. And finally you are calling plus of double comma double. So Java identifies this part. It don't really care about this. It cares about only method name followed by list of or type of parameters till the bracket ends. Because of this reason, if you try attempting a method like this, which is possibly not practical to write, but if you try to say public int plus, which will take int a comma int b, and if you are trying to say return a plus b, still this is illegal, or I could say Java won't allow. Why it won't allow? Because how do you call this method at runtime? How do you call that method at runtime? Let's say if you wanted to call this also call dot plus, you will still supply 3 comma 3. So how you are calling? You are calling plus of int comma int only, right? So are you trying to say that Java go and call plus of int comma int? Now tell me, if Java is allowing this signature, which method it has to call at runtime? पहला वाला कि दूसरा वाला? Because it leads to, it is not possible. That's why Java stops you while the time of compiling the unit itself. It says ki this is not possible. Plus with two int symbols like this is already being defined. So come back to the compiler and we'll try to recompile the program. It says like this. Method plus with two integers is already defined in the class calculator. Well, this is not allowed. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
समझ गए ना? तो that's it guys. तो it is not allowed. इसको comment कर दो. Uh, what is this called as? This is what we call as static or compile time polymorphism. So whatever is possible to compile, Java allows only those things. If it is stopping you, it is not possible. That you need to understand that that's a static thing. So static polymorphism happens within a class when you are overloading methods. Well, this is called as method overloading. That is writing same method again and again for different outputs with different params. Please understand. Here, people basically call this as outputs with different signatures. Well, please understand. Signature in Java stands for method name till the list of a type of parameters and close. That is method name followed by the starting bracket, list or type of params changing with each method. That's it. So here you need to understand the return type or access modifier, specifier, public, private, and all. Am I clear? Are not part of the signature. Will you remember this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, they are never the part of the signature. Who are the part of the signature? Are nothing but starting with the method name till the parameters. So the return type or access modifiers S are not part of the signatures. ठीक है? मतलब यानी कि public या void, that is public या void are not the part of int या जो भी है. समझ रहे हो ना बात को? Control S, that's it. So it's already 12:40. Cool, we'll stop here. And abstraction and interfaces is what we need to discuss. We'll discuss them. Um, let me see if I can take a session in the post line so that we can complete OOPS today. At least we can say OOPS are completed. So I require at least 1.5 hours to 2 hours of time to explain it in a proper way. Matlab proper way. Abstract classes and interfaces, and we will also see something called as we'll speak about something called as marker interfaces, and we will also see functional interfaces, which will contain only one function at a time, and how these interfaces are implemented at runtime after Java 8.0. All that kind of stuff we will learn. We will also have an introduction, hello, hi to lambda expressions today. Possibly, I'll let you know today. Now it's 12:40. For you people to practice these things, you need some time, right? Right. So I'll see if I can take a session at 4 o'clock. I'll inform you. If not, I'll say I'll inform you that we'll have the session on next Monday. Okay. So far, whatever is being taken, please practice them properly. All of these examples I'll be posting, and then video also. The moment recording is ready, I'll download and then post it to your section. Whatever is being shared with you, right? वहाँ पे share करूँगा. Okay. So this one we'll see if possible today. If not possible, we'll go ahead with this part followed by exceptions. ठीक है. We are delayed slightly, but we'll try to cover up that. Let's see what we can do. Chalo guys. Anything else?
No,
Any
sir. Thank you
doubts?
so much.
Any doubts
No,
in
sir.
session? Everything is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Good, beta. Chalo. Take care. Bye.
Yes, sir.
Bye
Thank you,
bye,
sir.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, beta. I'm stopping the recording.